Hey guys, Stock Catcher here. If you're not part of the team, I recommend you join the team. Just hit subscribe, it's free to do. And I share trade ideas every day starting 7:30 Eastern time, Stock Twitch, Twitter. And I make daily YouTube videos just trying to help people. If that sounds like your thing, I recommend you subscribe, guys. Hit the like button, comment down below. It helps the channel. So today, every single day, guys, I see crazy runners. So today, first one, VAPE, vape. This one, if you look at the chart, this stock brand ended up ripping 2,149%. That's a massive move, guys. This happened in pre-market. If you remember what I said about the extended hours, pre-market, after hours is the biggest movers. That's why you see me posting the most in the pre-market. So it's been like that since I've been doing stocks like 7 years now, a long time. And pre-market, the moves are insane because many reasons. But the biggest reasons, number one, there's no halts. Because usually what halts end up doing is it ends up killing momentum for the stocks, right? You see after open, a lot of times stocks halting up. That's the first reason. Second reason is most of the time stocks in pre-market have reason, like news or catalyst or a squeeze angle to it, rather than after the open. There is some movements based on that, but it's mostly technical setups, right? In the pre-market, there's a lot of catalysts, and catalysts are what drives huge volume. And if you combine huge volume with no halts, and on top of that, third reason is this very thin. I'm saying thin every day in my videos. Thin means that it doesn't take a lot of volume for a stock to move a lot. And when a stock has news, breaking news, or it has a fundamental squeeze angle, or it has a reason to go up, you combine that with thin nature, with the extended hours volume, and that's why you see these 100%, 200%, 1,000%, 2,000% moves. So vape was a monster move. 844 to $189.83, man. Like 2,000%. Wow. So I mentioned it in the pre-market after that big move up. And if you've been studying, guys, again, everything I say in my videos is not financial advice, just trying to help. But if you've been studying my videos, remember I said that when a stock makes a big move up, what ends up happening is it makes another move up. Like it's like a cap bounce, or not just a cap bounce, but it's just based off momentum. So I mentioned vape when it was up like 480% or 500%. I don't remember the exact amount, but I mentioned it in the pre-market, and then it ended up just ripping an extra 100%, or I think it was 200%. You could check the time I posted. And this is the opportunity I'm talking about, guys. If you just capture a fraction of that move as a day trader, let's say out of 200%, you just capture 50%. That's massive. You use, $2,000. That's $1,000 in a couple minutes, right? So vape was a really nice move. And again, day trading is not easy. I don't want to make it seem like it's like very easy, but if you study and if you practice, there's opportunity every single day. So next trade, VWAV, VWAV. This one I mentioned it right at the beginning. The first minute it moved, I mentioned it, 250 break, psychological point, and they're just ripping face. I'm watching it right now, and it's literally at 866. It's up 200% plus on the day. So what made me interested in this stock? If you know what I'm talking about, the float, right? Look at the float, this low float, like 10 million, 12 million float. Any stock under 30 million is low float, in my opinion. And you really want to pay attention if you see these type of low floaters in the morning time, especially with the thin nature, right, and a lot of volume. So VWAV just ended up just going parabolic. And I said in my previous video that just because a stock makes a big move up in the morning, that doesn't mean it's done. Because a lot of times people think, okay, it makes a big move up, it goes back down, it pretty much crashed. But if you trade off of the levels, this stock ended up respecting it very well. And then it bounced off of that VWAP and then just went to the moon pretty much, 866. So this was a massive win. And I'm sure people banked on this trade. I had a lot of people liking my posts, commenting. And I appreciate you guys. I read everything you say. And, you guys are nice, So next trade, a lot of trade ideas, man. Today, there's just so many trade ideas every day. Next one, ALBT. This one, going off of what I just mentioned, this is a thin name. I said it was thin. So if a stock is thin, most of the time, this is really spready. So that means that the bid and the ask, if you check the level 2, the tape, most of the time is very thin. So even if it's just a little amount of volume, it just ends up skyrocketing. So ALBT, I mentioned it in morning time. And if you look at the chart, it ended up just ripping face all the way to 474. That's a massive move we're talking about, guys. So ALBT was a really good win. Again, this one micro float, 2 million float. The news, I don't think it had news, but even if it didn't have news, it doesn't really matter. Because when it comes to small cap, volume is the number one factor. I say every video, volume is key. So ALBT was a monster. Next one, CELC. This one I mentioned it in pre-market. I said it open. So basically this is a stock that halted during the extended hours. If you notice, sometimes stocks, they end up halting, and then as soon as it resumes, like resumption, you see a massive move up. And it's not guaranteed. I don't want to say it's 100% of the time, because sometimes it goes down, obviously, right? But this stock, I mentioned that it opened immediately, and then it just popped off, almost $25 share move. This is massive. Again, if you use like the 1K share, that's 25,000 bucks in a minute. And again, everything I say, not financial advice. I'm just excited, guys. I'm just passionate about trading, and there's so much opportunity every single day. There's timestamps, there's proof. I'm not making anything up, guys. So CLC, this one was a move that ended up actually just a huge candlestick, and this was a massive move. Next one, NVNI. This one, I mentioned it, that key psychological area. If you know my video, psychology plays a big role in trading. So basically, any stock under 30 cents is considered like a micro penny, in my opinion. And micro pennies I'm going to be going over later in the video, such as WLGS, GIBO, ABP, HCTI. Those are all examples of micro pennies. They're all like 10 cent, 12 cent. So NVNI, this one I would not consider micro penny. Just for my opinion, sorry guys, like tongue twisted. So NVNI, this one is more of a larger stock, over 50 cents. And any stock that's over 50 cents, you really want to look at quarter intervals. So 50 cents, 75 cents, $1, 125, 150. You guys know what I'm saying, right? So NVNI, this one just ended up having massive volume after the open, I believe, right? Let me just check. Yeah, NVNI, it went all the way up to 69.77. And that might not seem like a lot, but I said in my previous videos that when it comes to pennies or any penny stock under $10, you really want to look at percentages rather than the actual numerical, the coin value, right? Because, for example, some people might see that and say, oh, it's only around 13 cents. That's not really a lot. But if you do the mathematical calculation, that's actually 26%, which is a big move. So if you use 2,000 bucks, that's like 500 bucks, right? 2,025. Yeah, that's $500, and just, that's a lot. That's a very big move. So next one, FNGR, this one finger, this was a multi-day mover. I mentioned it the previous day that hit that volume, and I mentioned that it was a multi-day mover as well. So the thing with multi-day mover is that sometimes the stock doesn't really have a lot high volume that makes it continue multi-day. It just kind of like settles down, right? It kind of consolidates. And those are ones I really like a lot, because those are lower risk compared to the ones that have huge whippy volatile type of price action, right? Huge volume sticks. The ones that are kind of like slow, kind of consolidating in a slow fashion, those are the nice multi-day movers, guys. Pay attention to those movers in the market time. So FNGR, this one just ended up perking up, and then it's made a really nice multi-day move. So FNGR, this one is really nice. Next trade, AIM. This one, I mentioned it right at the beginning of it again. I said that this was starting to rip. As soon as I saw that $10 psychological break, I pretty much knew that it was going to reface, because if you remember what I said earlier, right, the whole dollar levels, this stock was trading at $8, and then as soon as 10 broke, it had massive volume. It just ended up just skyrocketing all the way up to $36 a share, guys. You could check the chart. So that's almost a $25 a share gain. Again, just like the previous stock. So many of these type of moves happen, guys. AIM, this one is a bio company, right? One of those. AIM Immunotech, 600K float. If you remember what I said every video, float, volume, very, very key in these big moves. So AIM, I think, had news. And I said earlier in the video that when a stock has news in the extended hours, after hours, or pre-market, you see really nice price action. So this stock just ended up pulling away, and this was more of an expensive stock, right? Any stock of over $10 I consider more expensive, and the more expensive a stock is, the more spreadier it could be. So what that means is that if you look at level 2, you look at the tape, it gets to be really wide. For example, if a stock, the aim is at bid is at $12, you see the ask, let's say, at 14, which is a really spready tape. But some people actually benefit off of that. I know the Warrior Trading, you know that guy, one of the biggest small cap YouTubers. He likes those type of movements where the tape just ends up pulling away, right? Where the stock ends up making higher highs, higher movement. Like, he likes to buy macro pullbacks, and AIM, this one provided a really, really good opportunity. If you look at the chart, the 1 minute chart, it had many times where he could have just bought the dip and then it ripped multiple dollars. So that's more of his strategy. And AIM, this one ended up just ripping really hard. Yeah, that was AIM. Next one, GIBO. This one, micro penny. I said many videos, micro pennies are going to be theme. And this one ended up just running multi-day. So the thing with micro pennies, I said in my previous videos, is that they're more choppy because they're more cheaper, right? The stocks that are under 30 cent, 20 cent, 10 cent, 5 cent, the moves up have decimal points, and they're very choppy. They're very like thick type of action compared to the stocks like I just mentioned, AIM, right? Or just pulls away very fast, smooth type of action. So GIBO, this one was a micro penny that had really good volume as well. Looking at it right now, the volume is insane. It's almost at 1 billion volume, and it's not even lunchtime. Actually, it is lunchtime right now. I'm recording it. It's almost at 1 billion volume, guys. Small cap with 1 billion volume. So GIBO, it definitely has potential for more, like WLGS if it holds that key psychological areas. So you really want to monitor GIBO as well. A lot of people seem to really like this stock as well. It's really popular along the lines of HCTI, WLGS, ABP, I'm going to talk about later as well. So next one that also ran multi-day, YYAI. This one I said was a multi-day mover, and you could check the chart yourself. This is a perfect example of a multi-day I said in the previous post, where if a stock makes this type of action on the extended time frame, where it makes a big move up, holds those key levels, oftentimes it's going to continue. The thing with multi-day is that it's not 100% guarantee. Like, just because a stock is setting up multi-day, you're not going to see guarantee continuation, right? That's just how it is. But most of the time, I'd say, in my opinion, 65%, 70% of the time, I see nice continuation. Especially in this market, small caps have been really strong the next continuing day. So YYAI, this was a really good multi-day setup. And you really want to add a watch list, guys. Make a watch list. It's free to do. And again, everything says not financial advice, just trying to help people. So if you make multiple watch lists, that's what I do every day. It's really important because you could map out the multi-day stock candidates, and you could see the previous day before anybody else. You could just pull up your chart, and then you could see what's going on, right? Before even someone mentions it, you could see if it's consolidating, holding the previous resistance as support. You could see if the extended time frame is bullish. So YYAI, really nice play. Next one, HCTI. This one, I mentioned it around 2 cents. I think it was like 2.5 cents or 2 cents, and then it just ended up ripping face to almost 10 cents. That's like what, a 500% move. And this one, I'm looking at right now today. It had nice volume, but it's starting to kind of, as you see, it's starting to look like where people are taking profit. But again, this one could definitely continue multi-day if it holds those key levels, and the volume is just continuing to rise. So ideally, if this stock breaks 10 cents, I said in the previous video, you're gonna see a really better move. But right now, looking at it right now, it's more of a cooling down type of action. But that's ordinary. I mean, that's not unusual. As you see in my videos, I talk about how when a small cap makes a big move up, like 400, 300, 500%, you're most likely gonna see a kind of cool down move, because it just can't keep going up to 1,000%, 2,000%. Right, especially since HCTI is more of a thicker float. It has over 400 million float according to my broker, and that's high float. So this one you want to monitor. I'm definitely keeping this on my watch list every day, and I'm gonna see how it reacts to those key levels, as well as I'm gonna watch how the volume, if it increases or tapers down. So HCTI was a really good mover, and a lot of people seem to really like this stock. So if you have this stock, I'm curious, what's your price target? What's your plan for HCTI? What do you plan on doing with this? Because I mentioned this, and many people seem to have got in at like a penny, and this thing ran 500% or 600% from that penny to penny level. So I'm just curious, what's your price target and what's your plan? So that was HCTI. Next one, CRVO. This one I mentioned in pre-market multiple times because I was really bullish on it. I checked the news. It had dementia news, and this is also a low flow bio, which has been the theme. You saw it earlier, AIM. You saw last week the small cap PSTV. You saw IXHL just ripping face. So CRVO looked really good, and it was a great trade opportunity. I mentioned it 3 times at the the good areas. If you check my posts, the first time I mentioned it, it made a new high, and then the second time I mentioned that dip area, it was perfect. It was like a really good dip area, and then it bounced off really hard. I think it was like $3 jump. And then that was another good opportunity. And the third time, it didn't end up really going the way I wanted it to, which happens, in trading. You can't win 100% of the time. But this one, actually, looking back in hindsight, the wick was actually pretty nasty, in my opinion. But at the time, I was just looking at so many stocks and mentioning so many stocks, and just doing so much things at once. Sometimes you make these mistakes. Where looking at it right now, yeah, that wick looked nasty. That rejection. So this was kind of more of a short trade. But this one, still, the earlier trades were good on it. So CRVO is unfortunate, but yeah, this could have ended up, if it held that wedge and then just popped off over that previous resistance, $15 psychological level, it could have ended up ripping towards 20 plus after open. Maybe even halted up, but you can't really control anything on that unless you're like, wizard or something, right? So CRVO, this one was solid trade idea. And I said in my previous video, guys, if you see any biotechs in the extended hours or even now, let me know. I mean, research them, guys. Biotechs are gonna be really hot in my opinion. And you saw how crazy these moves are. Next one, XXII. This one I think is also a biotech, right? XXI, I'm not sure, but this one I mentioned that area where it had a flow. So when I say a stock has flow, that pretty much means that I see volume acceleration as well as the candlesticks are starting to set up in a bullish way. So this stock, I believe, had a really high short percent float, according to what I saw online. And that's another catalyst where you don't just have to have concrete news for a stock to be a catalyst. Even a short squeeze angle is a really big catalyst, right? When it comes to small cap especially. So this one I said I had the flow and then it's just making a really nice move. I think it was like an 80-cent pop, which is really big. Yeah, it was like a 60% or 80-cent pop, which is really good. So this was a nice trade if you took it. Congratulations, guys. The trade I did. And I saw some people on Twitter saying that they're holding this for a longer move. So I might do some more research on it. I don't know. But a lot of people seem to be messaging me on this one. But looking at it right now, honestly, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, the chart extended time frame is setting up. And the float is actually, I didn't know this had 400K float. So this is really good float. So who knows, this could run multi-day maybe because a lot of people are tagging me. It seems like a lot of hype, and a lot of hype usually means just volume that's going to follow, right? So I'm going to monitor XXI. At the time of this video, it's just not doing anything. But yeah, that was XXI. There's just so many runners, guys. Like I'm telling you, every day, many trade ideas. So next one, LIDR. This one I mentioned it last week, 140 right at the beginning. And then it just ended up popping off today. It just ended up blowing off the top to 644, 360% gain. And this one I mentioned it because I had NVIDIA news. If you remember what I said in the previous video, anytime a small cap, not 100% of the time, but most of the time when a small cap has news that regards a larger cap, NVIDIA, Tesla, Apple, Google, Amazon, Netflix, you're most likely going to see a lot of volume because think about it. So these small caps don't have a lot of fundamental value. Most of the time they're micro cap. Most of the time they're just, irrelevant, right? Compared to the stocks like NVIDIA, Tesla, which is just a huge companies around the world that they're very, very powerful as well. So this one ended up just selling off today. Looking at right now, let me see. LIDR, I saw earlier it was selling off pretty hard. It actually halted down. But I said in the video earlier that if a stock makes up like a 400% move up, you're going to see pullbacks, you're going to see selling off. And that doesn't mean that it's going to go all the way back to a round trip, which means that it's going to go all the way back to $1. I don't think that's going to happen unless there's an offering. But that's just nature, guys. If you see a small cap ripping a lot, in my opinion, not financial advice, it's best to scale. And I told someone else on StockTwit, in my opinion, that scaling is a good strategy, which means that as it's going up, you're pretty much liquidating your position. Like as it's going up, scaling, right? Compared to just holding for, like 1,000%, that's being greedy. Right, so LIDR, this one really, really nice mover. Looking at it right now, it is trying to hold that psychological area 450, and I'm still gonna keep this on my watch list. Even if it's sold off, I'm gonna monitor it for this whole week, right? So LIDR, nice one. Next one, GTI. This one it says micro penny, and if you remember what I said about micro pennies, right? Anytime these micro pennies move even just a couple cents, that's a huge percentage gain, because these stocks are so cheap already, and this stock made a 38% gain. I mentioned it in the pre-market, and as you see, that's a technical pattern, and it ended up just having big volume, and it made a new high. So these micro pennies, you gotta keep on your watch list, guys. And tag me if you see any more micro pennies, any stock under 30 cents. So yeah, there's just so much stocks. Next one, IXHL. This one is a multi-day candidate potential because I saw just a huge sell-off it had, and then it's just reclaimed really beautifully. And looking at it right now, hopefully this stock continues the momentum, but this is interesting as a possible multi-day candidate. I'm going to keep an eye on this. This is also a bio, right? Bio or healthcare company. And that's IXHL. Next one, ABP. This one was a monster today. Micro penny madness. The stock just ended up just gapping up a huge amount. And this was a multi-day setup as well, not just a micro penny. So I said in my previous videos, if a stock has multiple factors aligning, for example, low flow, micro penny, multi-day candidate, volume, the more factors you have, the more edge you have, in my opinion, when it comes to trading. You don't want to just randomly pick any stock with no reason at all and then just get in. In my opinion, that's a bad idea. So you want to have as many factors as possible when you're thinking about a trade, in my opinion, not financial advice, right? So ABP, this was a really, really good name. And there's just more and more stocks that I mentioned today that made really nice moves. I can't keep going over every single one. This is going to be like an hour long. And this VWAV right now is now up 277%. It's up all the way to 915. Mentioned it around 250 area. It's at 915 right now, guys. 279%. So yeah, guys, I'm just trying to help people, motivate, inspire, not financial advice, and just my opinions, guys. If you appreciate it, I appreciate like the video, comment. I'm gonna be making daily YouTube videos just trying to help people, and you see it with your own eyes, guys. It's crazy. Small caps are crazy, guys. This time, and Stock Catcher signing out, guys. Have a great night. Peace.